Greetings to the participants of the conference. To your attention are the results of the research on register distribution of English detached nonfinite, nonverbal with explicit subject constructions, a corpus-based and machine learning approach. This research focuses on a specific type of nonfinite and nonverbal clauses in the English language as illustrated in the given context. Researchers from various linguistic trends and schools, namely descriptive grammar, generative grammar, corpus linguistics, functional systemic grammar, construction grammar, have repeatedly drawn attention to such non-finite and non-verbal clauses, and conventionally regarded them as rare, archaic Latinisms restricted to official discourse and written speech. Despite substantial previous research, the distribution of all the types of the analyzed clauses in modern English registers has not been analyzed yet. The conducted research develops and tests an integrated quantitative, corpus linguistic, and machine learning approach to investigate the register distribution of detached, non-augmented, and augmented, non-finite, and non-verbal clauses with explicit subject in present-day English. For this purpose, we first undertake a quantitative corpus-based analysis of register distribution of the analyzed clauses in the British national corpus, and second, we assess the possibility of occurrence of the clauses under research in the registers of present-day English on the basis of a machine learning model. The study is based on the theoretical and methodological foundations of the new framework of contemporary grammar studies, Cognitive-quantitative construction grammar. The framework is built on the synergy of the theoretical tenets advocated by cognitive linguistics and the constructionist approach, and the methodological principles of quantitative linguistics, quantitative corpus linguistics, automatic speech processing, and experimental linguistics. Thereby, the accepted framework provides a competent qualitative and quantitative approach for examining general and idiosyncratic features of syntactic patterns under study. From the cognitive-quantitative construction grammar perspective, language constitutes a repertoire of generalized form-meaning pairings, that is, constructions, of various degrees of schematicity and complexity. Constructions are holistic semiotic models for language representation, syntax, morphology, and vocabulary. Constructions of a language are stored in a constructicon, that is, a structured inventory of taxonomic networks of constructions. A comprehensive account of the linguistic properties of a particular construction is the result of the analysis of interrelated parameters of its form and meaning, such as prosodic, morphological, syntactic, semantic, distributional, pragmatic, etc. From the framework's perspective, detached non-finite, non-verbal clauses with explicit subject acquire the status of grammatical constructions, which we nominate as detached, non-finite, non-verbal with explicit subject constructions. As syntactic structures that include a non-finite, non-verbal clause, these constructions belong to the class of syntagmatically complex clause-level constructions. The analyzed constructions constitute a taxonomic constructional network, with every node representing an individual type of construction. The given taxonomic network is organized around a constructional schema, macro construction, the characteristics of which are inherited by less abstract meso-constructions, and further acquired by individual micro-constructions. As micro-constructions are the most linguistically rich patterns, they serve as the basis for further linguistic and quantitative analysis. In this study, corpus linguo-quantitative analysis is carried out on the sample drawn from the British National Corpus. The research database includes 11,000 tokens. The analysis of the distributional characteristics of the analyzed constructions involves a quantitative linguistic corpus analysis of their distribution in the registers of contemporary English, reflected in the parameter register distribution, embodied in the factors such as spoken, fiction, magazine, newspaper, non-academic, academic, and unclassified text. The frequency of constructions in the corpus indicates the degree of their entrenchment in the language community and correlates with the number of tokens associated with the corresponding parameter or factor. The verification of the data retrieved from the BNC and the establishment of statistically significant indicators are carried out using a three-stage linguistic and quantitative procedure that involves the consistent application of the following statistical metrics: multivariate analysis of variance, MANOVA, one-factor analysis of variance, ANOVA, and Yuki's multiple comparison method. The obtained results are used to build a machine learning model by applying linear discriminant analysis to predict the register distribution of the analyzed constructions outside the corpus. All quantifications are performed using a statistical data analysis platform, R. A quantitative corpus-based analysis of register distribution of the analyzed constructions presupposes that, on the first stage, statistically significant differences in the frequency distribution of the detached nonverbal, nonfinite with explicit subject constructions in the BNC registers are measured using MANOVA test performed in the RStudio console. The results of MANOVA tests show that the differences between the microconstructions within the register distribution parameter are significant, and the measured dependencies are important for distinguishing their prevalent spheres of usage. The second stage is aimed at examining the impact of each of the specified factors within the register distribution parameter on the analyzed microconstructions. For this purpose, ANOVA test is carried out. The results of ANOVA test indicate statistically significant differences among the microconstructions based on the factors spoken text, literary text, magazine text, newspaper text, and non-academic text. ANOVA indicates the presence of differences but doesn't specify where these differences are best manifested. The third stage requires the application of the Tukey post hoc test. The Tukey's multiple comparison method shows statistically significant differences in the factor spoken text between two pairs of microconstructions, while in the factor literary text between 6 pairs of microconstructions, in the factor newspaper text and academic text between 4 pairs, and in the factors magazine text and non-academic text between 3 pairs of microconstructions. Moreover, among their constructions, the greatest statistically significant differences are recorded between with and without, despite what with augmented microconstructions. The indicators of with and what with microconstructions differ in all of the identified factors, while with and despite constructions do not differ only in the factor academic text, and with and without constructions do not differ in the factor spoken text, but the differences between these microconstructions in the other factors are significant. So, based on the results of a 3-stage linguistic and quantitative procedure, it is evident and statistically proven that certain registers have a greater influence on the occurrence of the detached nonfinite, nonverbal with explicit subject constructions in them. That is, certain microconstructions tend to occur more frequently in text of certain registers than others. At this point of our research, the question arises: can the established register distribution of the detached nonfinite, nonverbal with explicit subject constructions be extrapolated beyond the British national corpus? To answer this question, the data obtained in the quantitative corpus-based procedure are subjected to machine learning modeling. The machine learning model will probabilistically predict the distribution of the analyzed constructions in present-day English usage. The linear discriminant analysis is employed first to build a model for classifying constructions, given that the statistical indicators will determine their register distribution in the corpus, and second, to identify the factors that contribute most to the separation of the analyzed microconstructions. The conducted classification of the microconstructions is reasonably accurate. The overall efficiency of the machine learning model for classifying the constructions in the BNC registers is quite high. Therefore, it can be used to predict the occurrence of such constructions in the specified registers outside the analyzed corpus. So, the model is the most effective in separating between with and unaugmented microconstructions. Less effectively, it classifies despite and what with microconstructions. The least effective, the model separates without microconstruction. In addition, unclassified text, newspaper, non-academic, fiction, magazine, and academic texts have the most weight in separating the microconstructions. The data of linear discriminant analysis demonstrate a clear distinction between two microconstructions, with and unaugmented microconstructions, lending credibility to the results of Tukey's a posteriori test. Therefore, it is reasonable to assume that these microconstructions will be distinguished similarly in the investigated registers outside the British National Corpus. However, it is also necessary to consider the difficulty of distinguishing between despite, without, and what with microconstructions, which reduces the overall accuracy of the model and prevents us from drawing conclusions about the model's overall efficiency for the entire language. To address the limitations of this model, additional research is required, such as the construction of a new IDA model with a larger sample size or the implementation of an alternative method. So, the findings of this study provide compelling evidence for the applicability of an integrated quantitative corpus linguistic and machine learning analysis for investigating the linguistic behavior of complex clause-level constructions, such as English detached nonfinite, nonverbal with explicit subject constructions. The obtained results refute the prevalent view in contemporary English grammars that the constructions under study have a limited scope of use, and demonstrate that the analyzed syntactic patterns expand their register distribution, penetrating both the written and spoken registers of contemporary formal and informal English discourse. The findings presented in the research show the need for future investigations. The proposed computerized linguistic-quantitative strategy will be used to investigate other linguistic parameters of the analyzed constructions and statistically validate the determinant parameters that affect the functional dynamics and variability of the network of detached nonfinite, nonverbal with explicit subject constructions in present-day English. Thank you for your attention.